Together, we're exploring the intersection of faith, biology, and the signals that shape how we heal.
You'll hear conversations about nervous system safety,
peptides, and cellular communication,
prayer, trust, and what it means to live aligned with design.
No hype,
no pressure,
just curiosity, relationship, and truth.
Welcome to Prayer and Peptides. Comment the word of the episode, safety. It helps the channel and it enters you to win. And we genuinely love conversations over here.
Before we talk about mornings, let's remember that most of us don't begin the day. We react to it. An alarm, a notification, a demand. So before anything else, let's take one slow breath. Not to get calm, but to arrive. Because how we enter the day is already teaching the body what to expect. Scripture pays attention to beginnings. Morning watch, first light, daily bread. Not because God needs the morning, but because we do. Beginnings orient the heart. They tell us where we are and who we belong to before the world starts asking for things. You know, most of us wake up already behind. We're already bracing and already stimulated. And then we wonder why anxiety rides us all day long. Today isn't about perfect mornings. It's about a gentler question. What does your body need first to feel safe enough to begin? Okay, guys, let me ask you this question. Let's just be for real quick. Let's be for real quick. How do you guys wake up in the morning? Like, what do you do? Do you reach to something? Do you have your phone nearby you? Does your TV turn on at a certain time? I know for us, we have our TV set to go off, as on our alarm. But how do you guys wake up?
I do not wake up with an alarm. I don't, which is no one in our house does at all. And now that I say this, you know that somebody's going to be late to work tomorrow or school or something. But it's like clockwork. We wake up and I do everything I'm not supposed to do. And I know it. I grab my phone. And that's because I check to make sure all my buildings are okay and what I need to do. I get a lot of texts in the morning early. And when I hear people say that I need to pause and do all this, I'm like, I get anxious just thinking of it. But on the flip side, I know my morning starts so wrong. So I'm really what you should not do in the morning. I grab my phone, then I do on my internet, then I do what I'm supposed to do, my email. And then on the dot, my son wakes and comes in and gives me a hug. And that is where peace happens. That's where my morning truly begins. So I had all this anxious, get all this done, hurry up, very routine in the morning. And then he comes in and he gives me a hug. And that's my calm. And then it's here we go. Now it's time to get ready. Boom, boom, boom. But I will say that on the weekends, when I don't have that immediate, I'm much better. I'm into much more of a peace. And I don't know if you're like me in the morning, but I am like what you should not be in the morning.
A little halfway in between. I do not wake up with an alarm, but my husband does. And he's usually kept me up all night snoring. So I don't know what is worse, but it's really, really cute. So we have a little GSP. She's a pocket pointer. She's 38 pounds. I mean, she's a little bit of nothing. I absolutely love her. And she can tell when his alarm is about to go off because she gets out of the foot of the bed on my side. She will go and lay on top of him before his alarm goes off. And then when his alarm goes off, it is time to get up and let her go outside. And she is very vocal about it and doing circles and up and down, doing all things Dad, let's go. So that is kind of my morning alarm. And then when she gets, and Mark is making his coffee and doing all the things, she comes back and gets in bed with me and she'll snuggle up here. And we snuggle for about 30 minutes and then it's time to get up. And so I like to wake up naturally. So before I got married, that was my intention, was that I wouldn't wake up to an alarm, because in our last episode, I told you that even with a nap, I'd wake up with a startle alarm and I would have adrenaline running through my fingers. You know, like when you step on the brakes too fast and you get that rush of adrenaline. My system hates that. I live in fight or flight, and that's just too much for my body to handle. my tingles, it hurts. It's not a good thing. And I don't like waking up that way. So I don't startle when his alarm goes off because she wakes me up before it goes off. So that's my gentle awakening. And I don't have to get up and hop out of bed and do all the things to get ready to go. Like I have a much gentler morning. We take our time. I let the dogs out again and we do our morning things, and I'm a much gentler thing. Lately, I have been picking up my phone and hopping on and checking things and doing all the things that I shouldn't. So when I am doing what I'm supposed to, especially at the start of the year, going through, reading through the Bible and just listening to that devotion and pushing play on the Bible app for those couple of episodes while I'm waking up and snuggling my little puppy and doing the things. So on a perfect morning, that's what I would do. And then we're going to teach you how to do some really cool things. And we have a challenge for you this week. So I hope that you will listen and start to do that. How about you, Lauren?
Well, I don't have a son that gives me a hug in the morning. I would imagine that does just start your day off amazing. But I am much like you, Amy. I reach for my phone. My alarm is on my phone. And so we have the television and we have the alarm on my phone. And I set it to go off early every morning. And I know deep down I'm really not ready to wake up yet. But I'm really trying to be an early person. Want to be the person that gets up early in the morning and does like good workouts and like does all the stuff first thing in the morning and then starts her day. But the reality is I am not. I want to be so bad. And I set my alarm early, the phone goes off, and then I just kind of reach for it. I look through stuff, I check my email, I work on some social media while I'm laying there trying to wake up a little bit. And then the television goes off. And that is like my husband's alarm. And so then the TV goes off. And once the TV goes off, now all three of our dogs are ready to go outside. So then it's like one of us are getting up to let the dogs out. And then once the dogs get up and we're all moving, then it's like my day begins. So I'm like, okay, supplements, water, bathroom, brush teeth, like get ready, makeup, hair, all the things. And then basically just leave for work. And so my mornings aren't very like relaxing at all. They're just kind of like, just do the things and just get out of the house to get ready for work and be at work on time. So let me ask you this. Do you ever remember a specific morning where it just felt a little bit more neutral or hopeful or more relaxing, or are your mornings a little bit more chaotic for the most part?
I like that perfect fall day. You know, that day where you actually get to wear the boots and the sweater and it lasts all day? Like that is a relaxing day for me. But I think that now I don't have a 9-to-5 job like you two. I don't have a place that I have to be at. I have clients that I have to see, but I just have to go into my office. So, on Tuesdays, I have an 8:30. So I got to get up and get my act together and get halfway decent and do the things. And, it's a fantastic conversation and I have to be on. Now, I also don't schedule early things the next day if I have a late night. So usually I am in bed. I'm a pumpkin at 9:00. So I'm usually in bed horizontal by 8:30. I may not be asleep, but I'm in bed. So that pays a price for me of how I sleep. So if I don't get into bed and I'm hurting and I'm exhausted, I don't sleep well. Like I still need that balance. So my morning balance starts really the night before, and I have aligned it so I can take my time, that I'm not rushed. Or if Mark and I were sharing a car for a while, so I would have to get up and take him to work. So on those days, I got up when he got up, and he gets up 2 hours before work and does all of his things. But I got to take a slower morning and wake up still in bed, and I hurkle-durkled. So, and when I durkled my last hurkle, we were all good, and I got up and got dressed and took him to work. It's perfect.
I find myself at times, because I work outside of the home, but my husband works from home. And even though he has to be up very early, like he starts, his day very early on his computer by like 6:30 a.m. or whatnot, I'm like, you get to be in comfy, cozy clothes. And I'm like sometimes a little bit jealous of that. I'm like, if I could just stay in comfy, cozy clothes for a little bit longer, we all might be happier. So Lauren, to answer your question, I think the mornings where there's not the rush to get up. And like my perfect morning is we have like this one screened in area on the side of our house that I can go, and I call it my outdoor office. I love to go out there with a cup of coffee and just sit and listen, because we have like this little, I don't know, it's not even a creek, but this little rock bed that sometimes have water go down it that's right outside of there. And it's so peaceful. So I got the light coming in on me. I have my coffee. I like to wear a little hoodie, just like Anna was saying, that fall weather. Those are the mornings where I'm like the most content, and I could be out there all day. And those are the days where I need to remind myself, you're like, oh yeah, your first thing shouldn't be to take out your phone. And I'm like, yeah, I wish that would be nice. That's not my life. That's not my job. But on the weekends, I get to like sneak into that. And that's been helpful. But Lauren, for you, I know that you work on Saturdays sometimes, I believe, right? So is there a down day that maybe you can ease in, or is that not happening for you?
So I'm off on Sundays and Mondays, but I get up early on Sundays, and most of the time, not every Sunday, but most Sundays we get up and we go to church. So I don't really get to really rest and relax Sunday morning unless I've worked really hard that week and I worked really hard that Saturday. Sometimes my body just won't let me get up and get moving, and I just need that time in bed. Mondays, most people like hate Mondays. It's my off day and I love them. That is my day that I can take it a little slower. I can wake up when I want to. I don't have really a whole lot of demands on me on Monday. Now, I do travel for work as well. So sometimes when I travel and I go and teach, I leave on Sunday and I teach on Monday and I come home Monday night, or I come home on a Tuesday. So not always am I off on Mondays, but there are a lot of Mondays that I get to have a slower morning and get to do that same thing and make a nice cup of coffee, or just take it slow, or just lay around. Sometimes it's just nice to just lay around and not really do anything and snuggle with the dogs. And I love Monday mornings. Everybody else hates them, but I love them.
Most of us were trained to think that mornings are about productivity, and we've all kind of exhibited that just in this conversation. Get up, get moving, get ahead, don't fall behind. But the nervous system doesn't speak productivity. It speaks safety. Threat or no threat, connection or isolation. The day begins with overstimulation. The rest of the day follows suit. And we feel like we need to answer that next email, or answer that phone call, or scarf down lunch, or move through things. And to add on top of all of that, we add bright screens, urgent information, immediate decisions. And then we still have to figure out what we need to eat. And the body doesn't interpret that as readiness. It interprets it as demand. And if you've ever demanded anything from a toddler, it doesn't work out well. But if we move from demand to safety, that becomes a less reactive process. If we put demand before safety, it's a reactive, volatile situation. And we live in this every single day. Beginning the day gently isn't just indulgent, it's instructive. You're teaching your body we have time. I want you to raise your hand and comment in the comments. If you're a brain surgeon, I have to remind myself that I'm not a brain surgeon. Like, my day is not life and death. And yours may be, but it certainly feels like life and death a lot of the times. But we're not under attack, and we can move forward without panic. So when we are looking at our day and how the day lays out, where do you notice reactivity showing up before noon? And how might retraining your morning, even by 4 or 5 minutes, alter that stress response and give you a less stressful day? So do you notice that, Amy? Do you notice like all the alarm bells going off before noon? And how does that day go for you?
Yeah, so I do, because my day is very much fast paced. And by the time it's noon, it's probably a lot of people's like end of the day. They're feeling. I actually had a good friend once share with me, and this is one thing that really shut me down from sharing with people, was they asked me about some things going on, and I shared, and they said, there's no way that was possible that all happened in one day. And I'm like, well, I wouldn't lie about it. And they're like, there's just no way. But I run multiple buildings of schools. So a lot of things can happen when you're running like 14 of them. And so by noon, a lot of emergencies have already happened. And I noticed my morning that I had a trigger. One of my triggers was if one of my administrators or one of my team called me with an emergency between 7:55 and 8 o'clock. That's 5 minutes. I know that sounds silly, but those 5 minutes were critical to me in that morning. Why were those 5 minutes critical to me in that morning? It was because that's when I transitioned Dominic from the morning routine in the kitchen to get into the car to go to school. I'm like, I need 5 minutes. You can call me any other time of the day, but those 5 minutes are crucial to me. There's another 5 minutes that I ask people not to call me, and it is between 8:20 and 8:25. And the reason being is Dominic sings the same songs to me in the car before he gets out. It's his ritual. So we have Christmas all year long with Polar Express. So me really self-evaluating things that were stressful for me, and I was triggered if somebody called between 8:20 and 8:25, because I'm like, this is his time, and another time during the transition. That was something I learned. And that's just 10 minutes. If you think about it, if you total that up, those 10 minutes were causing me stress in my morning. And if they just give me that, I can give them so much more. Another thing that I said was, unless it's an emergency, wait till after 8:05. If you need me, call me. If you need me at, during the time of transition with Dominic, that's fine. But unless it's an emergency and it can wait 6 minutes, let's wait 6. And that was me just recognizing something that I had to self-evaluate. How could I calm my morning? And literally 10 minutes of my day dictated how I was longer in my day, which was when I really started hitting me. I'm like, that seems so little, but it seemed like everything happened in those moments. I can't even explain it. But when I finally verbalized that to my team, they didn't even recognize it. They didn't know that they were putting me in this stressful mode. They didn't intend for that. They weren't doing it on purpose. So now they'll be like, oh, it's time for Dominic to sing. Call me back after. Perfect. So just recognizing that about my morning was huge for me.
And when you set that boundary, they honored it. It wasn't a pushback. It wasn't a, how dare you? I can't believe you. I need you right this minute. Because again, they're not brain surgeons. It can wait 5 minutes, and it can wait within the boundary, right? Don't call me at 2 a.m. I'm not going to answer my phone because I'm not going to fix a problem that you've been up all night thinking about. Wait until 8:15 and we'll solve it. And all the attention, all things. So kudos to you for setting the boundary. So now I'm going to encourage you to set a boundary with First Light, and we're going to do that this week and teach all the things and give you something to actively grasp onto and intentionally take 5 minutes in the morning. So Lauren, is there anything that you've recognized about your morning that you've had to change that stress response so you don't carry it into the day?
Yes. For me.
Wait, time out. This girl is in this text thread. It drives me nuts, and I don't even have her phone, and it gives me anxiety. So I know that's not what you're going to talk about, but she's in this work thread, and it just drives me bonkers. And I look, she's got 8,000 text messages, and I'm like, what? No, I like having no red things on my phone.
So my phone does have a lot of red. I do have a lot of notifications. I work for myself, so I have clients texting me all the time, right? And most of the time, people first thing in the morning when they're getting ready, they notice their hair. And they know that they're about to be busy. So what do they do as they're doing their hair at 6 o'clock, 6:30, 7 o'clock? And they're like, oh, I need a haircut. Oh, I need to get some highlights. Oh, my hair looks bad. They want to text me for an appointment. And that's my time, right? That doesn't always bother me. What I found for myself is that I'm triggered if I don't get enough sleep. So it really starts, and I think, Anna, you said this earlier, looking at your night before. And so for me, I kind of learned this from my husband. My husband's a really good sleeper. He has always, since the very time I met him, he wants to have 8 hours of sleep no matter what. I have never been that person. I'm just I'll just sleep when I sleep. I wake up when I wake up. It is what it is. Ian works so much better when he gets his good sleep in. And through our marriage, I have learned the same thing. And so before I go to bed and I set my alarm is always set for a certain time, But I will always look to see, okay, am I going to get 7 hours? Am I going to get 8 hours? If I wake up 30 minutes later, can I get like an extra 30 minutes? Will that get me closer to 8 hours? Like I'm like literally doing this in my head every night. I set my alarm and that's when I wake up. But if I set my alarm 30 minutes later, that gives me 30 minutes less in my morning. So now I'm really rushing. Like I have to get up and I have to get moving. And so that means get the dogs out, get them fed, get myself situated, get my husband situated, make sure that my lunch is taken care of. That also goes back to the night before. Did I pack it the night before? Like all these little things. And so if I am rushing in the morning and I get to work and I have my first client, say at 9 o'clock, and my first client comes in at 9 o'clock and she or he, most of the time she, is going through something really hard in their life. If I'm already agitated, I'm not doing a great job being of any service to her, listening and comforting and helping and loving. I'm just like, I got to get your color on and we got to get moving forward because my 9:30 is going to be here any minute. And that's not the type of service provider I want to be. That's not the type of hairstylist I want to be. I love my job. I love doing hair. I love doing color. I love doing haircuts, but I love being with people and I love to be a part of their story somehow. And I truly believe that being a hairstylist is actually ministry work because people come in and they do, for the most part, unload. There's a lot of stuff going on in their life, and sometimes they don't know you very well, so they feel safe to tell you. And then other people know you really well, so they feel safe to tell you. And so as a hairstylist, I want to, absorb a lot of this and I want to listen and I want to help them and I want to heal them the best way that I can. And if I am tired, I don't have a very good, patience factor. And I don't have a very good grace. I'm just like, okay, I got to get your color on because now I'm going to be late for my next one if I don't hurry up. And so all day long, I am on a schedule. I have to be careful about staying on schedule. And so that means I have to be early and I have to be ready and I have to be available. And so for me, I have learned that it all starts from the night before. And what time I actually go to bed and how much sleep I'm going to have and what time I'm going to wake up and how much time that's going to give me in the morning.
Lauren, I hear you saying all this stuff. And really, when I think about you, you're a shining light. Like you're a bright soul, you're a kind soul, you're somebody that makes me smile. And it really transitions me into light. And the one thing that we take for granted in the morning a lot of time is light is one of the strongest signals the body receives. It tells your brain it's morning. We put the blackout blinds out, but we actually need the light to wake us up. Cortisol levels should rise. Melatonin will fall, but energy should come like an outline, slowly, predictably. But a lot of times we forget about that. But I think about you and you're such a light. You let us grow. And when I'm around you, I feel better. And, when I think about artificial light, it kind of shuts us down, right? It's not like natural light when you're outside. Signals can be confusing when it's from screens or from lights instead of the sun. The body doesn't really know whether it's morning, night, or an emergency. And it's one thing that I've tried to really work on with myself is to make sure I do give myself natural light. When I can, I love to walk outside, even if it's for a phone call when I'm at work. I call it my outdoor office. I walk up and down the sidewalk to the point that the mailman laughs at me, which explains why we need light. And explains why people feel wired and tired when they're not getting it. They don't feel good. Light doesn't just wake us up the body. It says, there's where you are in the story. You don't have to rush the next chapter. This is where gentle peptide signals matter. When light exposure is aligned, peptides help reinforce calm, steady energy instead of sharp spikes and crashes, not forcing wakefulness, but supporting rhythm. And I really think about my time with sleep and how I have been tracking my own sleep scores and things like that. And I think about how I feel when I do get those 8 hours like Peyton does compared to when I don't really stretch it out. And when I think about questions that I want to ask you and Anna today, the one that really comes to mind is, how does your body usually feel mid-morning when you're going through your process?
So I'm not an early morning person. I wouldn't say that I'm a night owl either. So kind of mid-morning is my sweet spot. It's when I feel most turned on, most focused, most all things. So I get in my 4 hours of work kind of in that midday between like 10 a.m. and 1 p.m., somewhere around there. And I definitely notice if I get woken up in the middle of a sleep cycle, I am miserable until I can go back to sleep. Like I'm just that way. So another reason why I go to bed at 8:30, because I will fall asleep by 9:30 or 10. I'm not actually exhausted, tired that I have to go to bed, be in bed at 8:30 because I'm just done. Like my day is done, but that helps me with my sleep hygiene. I will read or I'll listen to a podcast or listen to a book. You'll learn this about me. I'm already 20 something books in for the year already. And it's at the time of recording, we're not very far into the new year. So and I want to make sure, and I will listen to them several times and go through and we do a book of the month and all of that as well. But that gives me time to listen to the audiobook and read at the same time in the book. Then I'm not looking at a screen. I like having tactical books. So on either side are my bookcases, and you can't actually see them. You might be able to see them, but I'm on a library, and a library is 1,000 books, and I haven't counted yet, but I'm well on my way. But it's that sleep routine and that hygiene that really make a difference, that change the next day for me. And that's so crucial. The signals that you give your body before bed and when you wake up, I am a much better person when I've had all of my REM sleep, and I can support my day and execute the 4 hours and not feel guilty for taking a nap at 2:30 when I want to take a nap. And then I have bandwidth for when Mark gets home and we make dinner and play with the dogs and do whatever else needs to be done. So it's that signal and being on that circadian rhythm that really, really helps. So I do try to get up and get my eyes on the sun, open the front door, no sunglasses, no window, no nothing, and I'll open my eyes, but I will look at the sun. Right? It makes a big difference. So those signals are so, so important of, hey, I'm going to do this because it's going to make my day better. It's going to reduce my stress. It's going to reduce my anxiety. And also shining light on the next step and where you want to go and how the day is going to unfold is so crucial, because it's not up to you anyway. So that takes pressure off. It's a great little exercise.
So Lauren, I hear you about your mornings and how you need to be prepared to get to work, and they can really dictate how your first client may have you, right? What Lauren shows up that day, right? Or how do they see you? What signals are you sending before you even have your feet hit the floor?
And I think that really goes back to my morning routine, because if I wake up and I have enough time and I feel rested and I feel calm, I can go to work and I could feel calm and I could feel good and I could show up for my clients. I know personally that I have tried intermittent fasting before, and mid-morning, I will be starving, so hungry. And I think it's because of my job. I'm standing so much, I'm moving around very first thing in the morning. There's a lot of energy I'm putting out. So I need that energy. So that doesn't work for me. And then I get hangry, and that can really throw my morning off. For me, if I get a good bite to eat in the mornings, something good, I think that it also grounds me a little bit. Besides just my good sleep and a calming morning, I think something to ground me is food, having some good protein first thing in the morning, or having a protein shake, even just something to kind of sustain me so that I can get into work and I can feel good and I can really show up for my clients. So the signals that I'm sending before my feet hit the floor are really depends on the sleep that I've had. Did I get really good sleep? Did I, sometimes with 3 dogs, one of the dogs hears something and they bark in the middle of the night and you wake up, or something goes crazy and all of a sudden at 2:00 and you just wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, what is going on? What is wrong? So a lot of that can also matter, but I think that, just feeling a little bit grounded, and that's whether that is through my sleep or it's through getting a good bite to eat, or having a good prayer time, some good morning prayers, or a good scripture to start me off, things like that help ground me. And those really determine the signals that I'm going to have mid-morning or as my morning begins, or even later in the day.
This video is brought to you by you. Seriously, Thank you for liking, subscribing, and dropping those thoughtful comments. Every single one helps spread the mission. If you're loving what you're hearing, come hang out with us on Instagram. That's where we take each episode even further, with weekly action steps, deep questions, and behind-the-scenes action. So if you're ready to turn insight into transformation, join the conversation at Prayer and Peptides. Now, back to the episode.
You know, throughout Scripture, mornings matter. Not because they're quiet or holy by default, but because they set orientation. Like, if you really think about it and you read the Bible, Jesus often withdrew early, not to escape responsibility, but to return aligned. And beginning with God isn't about like checking off a box, right? It's not like we're waking up and we're going to like go through our checklist and we did our prayers, check. It's about remembering that you are not alone. I am not alone. And we don't have to generate strength on our own because we can get that from Jesus. And so as the body responds to that remembrance, prayer before stimulation acts like a safety signal, not because it fixes the day, but because it softens the system. And so as I wake up and I'm like running around and rushing, there are times where I do have some moments, especially on Mondays. Like I said, I love my Mondays because I can wake up and feel rested and I can like dedicate some great time to some morning devotion and some wonderful prayers. But what about you guys? Like when you think about your mornings and your faith and in your upbringing, how was quiet time for you guys like framed in your faith? Like, did you have quiet time? Did you have devotions? Were you encouraged to pray? Like, how did that like pan out in your mornings?
I think for me, it was interesting as a child, my parents both were two different faiths and we walked that, and my grandparents were very strong Catholics. And I feel like I'm more in my faith as an adult. And really where I came into like my mornings and I felt the strongest in my mornings in my faith was when I was in college. I actually was not strong in my faith going to college, but I ended up playing volleyball at a college that was a Jesuit college. And probably one of the best things that happened to me because I did start getting aligned with my faith again. And I remember during those times where I had recognized how far I had kind of broken away from it and I needed it, and the calm in the morning, because in college, it was different. Like my classes, I was able to plan them till later. You know what I mean? I didn't have to have an 8:30 a.m. class. And I remember having that more of a ease and that pause, and then them encouraging us to have that quiet reflection. I remember those mornings better when I would take that time in my faith. I think one thing now I have really done better in the evenings at times than I do in the morning with my faith and how I start my day. Now, one thing I do try to do in the mornings is I truly believe no one wakes up in the morning and says, I want to have a bad day. I don't think anybody looks in the mirror and says, I'm going to be miserable today on purpose and I'm going to make everybody's life horrible. I don't believe that. And I talk a lot about that, where like if something happens at work, I'll be like, no one woke up this morning and said they wanted to have a bad day. They might have woke up in a bad mood, but that wasn't really what they wanted. So I really try to think about a positive thought in the morning, and it can be something. And I really talk about having a positive statement, which if you listen to me in my last episode, I'm really bad at for myself. I tear myself down, but I have this same ritual where Dominic's autism doctor told us that we needed to create positive CD-ROM for him. So he has a self-esteem like you wouldn't believe. This kid thinks he's amazing. And I think that is huge. And I think that is really something, a positive connection in the morning. And it's something that I need to work better on because I'm better at night than I am in the morning.
I think, like you said, Amy, it almost doesn't matter at what time you build the relationship, right? And you have the conversation. And I know that all three of us are having that conversation with God, Jesus, all day long of like, okay, go walk into this room before me. Like, what do I need to say? Help me notice the person that you need me to talk to. Who can I be a light to? Who can I encourage today? So one of my favorite things is to see somebody walking through a parking lot and they spent time on their outfit. And I ask, if they work at Subway and they're like, no. And I said, well, you're looking fresh. And they get the biggest smile on their face and they absolutely love it. Right. And they laugh and they're like, pointing back, and that just changes their day. So if you hang out with me, I know everybody's name at my local Publix, at the grocery store. I know, like, in my mom's town, I know, and I will call them by name. We went to Sam's Club last night and I said hi to Miss Renee and Miss Harriet, and Miss Harriet goes, it's you. Like, it took her a second, but these are people that are in my everyday life. And when I talk to them and have a relationship with them, it lights them up, and we need to do the same thing. So I grew up with great representation. Like, I would see my mom do her Bible study and do all things. And my dad would drive us to school in the morning because it was on the way to his work. And so and I hated doing it when I was a kid, but every other day, my brother and I would read a Proverbs on the way to school. Okay. So that got drilled into us for years and years. And I don't even think I understood what I was reading or anything, but it was just creating that, raise up your children in the way that they should go, and they will go that way as an adult. Right. So it instilled in us that habit. And there were times in college where I wasn't quite active in my faith as much as I should have been. It's not that I didn't believe, I didn't deconstruct or anything like that. I just wasn't practicing. And then especially with my health, that has become an integral cornerstone of my daily day, because most days I don't want to do a day on my own anyway. And I definitely don't want to do two. So if it's a bad day, we thank God that he didn't give us two at a time, because this one's tough enough. Right. So going through those steps, and I really think of it as a relationship. And like Lauren and her relationship with her dad, I have that relationship with my dad, and it's a direct representation of when I am in my darkest kind of day, or I don't feel well, or I need some help. I will seriously, this is what I do. I stick up my left hand and I reach out and I say, okay, it's your turn. Pick me up. I'm like, Daddy, pick me up. I can't do this by myself. I don't want to do this. I'm going to go take a nap and eat a snack, and then you figure it out and tell me what to do. So I am a firm believer of a nap and a snack and letting God handle it. And it fixes a lot of things that are out of our control. For me, that's what that relationship is like on a daily basis, of just having the conversation and talking. I told you I dump a lot on Lauren. She helps me figure it out. And I talk to God way more than I talk to Lauren. And so I know he's tired of hearing the same thing. Like, dude, I got it handled. Just let me handle it. So it's just one of those things of how we start our day and our relationships throughout the day of, if you didn't have that hug from Dom in the morning, that's part of your relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if we spent more time investing in getting to know our spouse in that gentle way in the morning, how would that change our morning routines with our spouse, and then our kids and other people in our lives and all of that thing? It's all about that relationship. So I think I answered the question.
I love how you talked about that, as now that I see my boys transitioning over to adulthood, which is wild. So I have a 17-year-old and a 19-year-old. Dominic's my 17. My 19 is Vincent. He's off at college. And he's almost mirroring what I did in college, which is, I don't think it really hit me until I just was talking about this right now. So we raised both boys Catholic. And when I praise my church for what they did for our family with Dominic, they made us feel so welcome. And they have even social story flip books, which follows the mass in order. Because if you don't go to a Catholic mass, it is very routine. It's like stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. That's what I always say. Dominic can call our priest out if he messes up. He does not verbally, but he has once said to the priest, you messed up right before the homily. I'm like, Dominic, but, he laughed and things like that. But there was a time when, and I hate to share this, but it's true, where church got away from us a little bit when we got into the busy season with Vincent in sports, and then he was in competitions and got put on I hate to say the back burner, but the brick and mortar did get put on the back burner. My father-in-law unexpectedly passed away a few months ago, and it really brought all of us back. And Vincent had already started this path when he went to college. He's a freshman. And I remember I called him one night and he didn't answer. I was like, that's weird. And his phone was on Do Not Disturb. And I'm like, that's even weirder. But I was just like, okay, maybe he had a football meeting, something like that. It was like 9:45. He calls me and I'm like, everything okay? He's like, yeah, I just left church. And this is 9:45 at night, not in the morning. He goes, Mom, I found my church. I go, what do you mean? He's like, well, a few of me and my teammates, I heard they were checking out different churches and they were going to the Catholic one up in Little Italy and I wanted to go. I said, buddy, I'm so proud of you that you did that. And he's like, you know what's crazy, Mom? So me and my two friends were sitting there and I look around and there's like half my football team in there. Now he does not go to a Jesuit school or Catholic school or anything like that. And he's like, I found my home here. And like, as a mom, I'm always like so proud and how he's navigating everything and coming into things. And, you know, Anna, you just talked about, it doesn't have to be a morning routine or a night routine or things like that. But now I have my son that is going through this. And I know I'm getting off topic a little bit, but it just was like one of those things that we've done. He's almost mirroring my relationship with my faith, how I was in college, and he's strengthening it so much. And I really do believe my father-in-law has a huge part of that and bringing us all back and us trusting somebody that we lost that we weren't prepared to lose. And he really is taking the time to work through us. But now I get these phone calls that are so great. And he's like, guess what song we sang? You're going to be so excited. We sang this. And it's just feels good. And then he'll talk about the homily. And I'm like, what a conversation to be having. And so, you know, I hear back about how you were driving in the car and your parents were having you read. And now like, it's like full circle where I'm like, okay, my 19-year-old is really talking about his faith and what he's going through. And he's there making his schedule around it. So sometimes he's at the 9:00 a.m. mass. Sometimes he's at 9 p.m., depending on what's going on in his life. And he's making a commitment with his relationship with his faith. And I think that just really is hitting me now that he's walking a similar journey as I did.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I've heard it said this way of like, we're all on this path and Jesus doesn't move from the path we do, so that we can ebb and flow and just like get back to right where, and he's calling us. He's the good shepherd. Like, have you seen those videos where the sheep like falls in the hole and the shepherd pulls him out and the sheep goes right back in? And it's like, seriously? Like the shepherd didn't move. The shepherd was still there watching it happen. And the sheep got in, he got him out, and he went right back in. So we're that same thing. God is always calling us and we're only human. So we're not going to be 100% consistent all the time. Like, it's just seasons change and flow, but he is that constant and we can always go back to that. And sometimes mornings feel the same. Sometimes they feel like, okay, we're dialed in, we got it, we get up, we go get our eyeballs on the sun, we do our devotions, we have our peptides, we eat our protein, and then we get off on the day and we're not late and everything else falls into place. And then other days, like the whole world explodes and we feel like we're rushing, and some days don't even cooperate. Like, it's like January. Who else felt that January just was doing her own thing? Like, seriously, I'm glad that she went off and did her thing. Like, we're done with January. So, but that doesn't undo the alignment. That doesn't undo the consistent choices that even out of consistency, if we're making them over a long period of time, if one day is off, like, it's not the end of the world. And alignment isn't fragile. The relationship that you have with your creator and with yourself of discipline and consistency of, I'm going to make healthy choices. I might not make every healthy choice all the time, but for the most part, I'm going to hit it out of the park 80%, right? And that relationship is resilient. And what really matters is the direction of the signal at the end of the day. And it's not perfect execution all the time, but the body learns safety through repetition, not intensity. So I tell clients this all the time, like, hey, you want the body fat to drop off, but you're not making your body feel safe because you're eating high amounts of processed foods or sugar or alcohol or all these things, and your body's screaming at you and you're mad that it's not doing what you're asking it to do because you're lighting it on fire. Like, I wouldn't want to do anything if you lit me on fire either, right? But that's not where safety comes from. So making the decisions and stepping into the daily signal of asking God, what are our signals today? And then taking our peptides and like, hey, repair this, burn this, build this, restore this. So where have you turned your morning practices into that resilience and not that pressure? Like, what about your morning routine has empowered you and emboldened you more than feeling like it's a sacrifice or something that you have to check off the box and it's not doing anything anyway?
I think for me, I feel like the mornings that I put on some worship music and I can like set the tone of my day with like some good worship music, that helps me. That takes a lot of pressure off of me. Like it kind of like sets my mindset right. I get myself into like I'm feeding myself so that I can give myself later if I need to. And that really helps me. I think another thing for me is I see a holistic doctor quite often, and I get my blood work done every like 4 to 5 months, and we're always looking at what's happening in my body. And so I actually just saw her this past Monday, and we're looking at all my vitamin levels. We're looking at all my hormones. We're looking at my thyroid. And there are things that I just have to do. Like I have a low thyroid. I have to take a low dose of medicine to help my thyroid. That makes me feel better. I had this one time pressure on me that, no, I'm not going to take anything and I don't want to take medication and I don't want to do this. But the reality is my body needs support. And if that supports my body to make me feel better and do better during the day, then that's what I need to do. And so I see her and we have me on lots of different supplements and of course peptides. And these things really do support me and support my body. They help me with my energy. They help me with my mindset and my mood. They help me with so many different things. And for me, taking the pressure off of I'm not going to and reminding myself that it's okay. It's totally fine. Like these are gifts, they're tools, they're resources, and these are what are things that are healthy for me and for my body so that I can move forward on a day-to-day basis. And taking that pressure off and allowing myself the permission to just do what I need to do to feel good in a healthy way, obviously. I'm not doing anything that's like not healthy. It matters. And I think that is just a great reminder, like our body is a temple and we need to treat it as such. And there are certain things that we need to do that help us. And for me, putting on some worship music, getting my mindset, doing the things that I know help my body with vitamins and supplements and peptides, that makes a huge difference for me.
I agree with you. For me, knowing that I'm listening to my body is huge. And peptides have been something that have helped me, especially what's really helped me is with my sleep, my quality sleep. I talk a lot about how there's one peptide that truly made a difference because I thought I was getting sleep, but I had no idea what real quality sleep felt like until after. I mean, when I started taking it, my sleep scores went from like in the 50s and 60s to the 80s and 90s. And I was always like waking up between 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And I'm like, this just must be normal. You know, I'm going to be going through menopause someday. I'm giving all the things why this is just what life is and get over it, Amy. But in the reality, it's like, no, I don't want to get over it. I want to stay young. I want to feel my best self. And the peptides and really focusing on sleep has been huge. But like talking with you two about how I start my mornings really does transition me to think about, I'm horrible about how I wake up with my phone. I'm horrible that I don't eat breakfast all the time. And it's not because I'm fasting, it's because I'm forgetting. Like there's a totally different thing. Like if somebody's fasting, good for them. They know what they're doing. They're on a certain plan and on a cycle. That is not my excuse. I can say it is, but that would be a lie. For me, really being intentional. And when I was going through my thyroid, I loved what you were saying that you have your doctor going through things because it is so important. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called autoimmune protocol. And with autoimmune protocol, it's an elimination diet where you reintro foods. And I found out some of my favorite foods were the ones that were ruining me. And I had to listen to my body. Like I cannot eat potatoes. And I used to love potatoes. And people are like, oh, just eat sweet potatoes. I'm like, I can't do that either. So like, and then I found out I'm gluten free. And it's not like stick me with an EpiPen. This is gluten sensitive, but I will have joint pain and a headache in 2.2 seconds. So really listening to my body and making those changes. And the funny thing is I'm learning from this episode today, even while talking with the two of you, I have really made a commitment to my sleep, but I haven't made a commitment to my mornings. So that's something I need to do better on as an individual. And I think that's one thing that's really great about the three of us talking, because we all come from different sides of this and we're vulnerable to say, hey, I'm good at this. We don't get on here and say we're perfect. We're human. And somebody's going to relate to that. Each of us are different in our faith. Each of us are, when I say like with our journey in our relationship, and that's okay. And sometimes like there's ebbs and flows, just like Anna just said. But, you know, I'm thinking about this and listening to this and I'm like, I need to do some meditation on what I'm going to be doing with my morning start. And really, I focused on my sleep for the past 6 months. What am I doing about the start?
So I hope that y'all can take away as you're listening to this that we are giving you, like, this podcast is going to be descriptive, not prescriptive. Like, you're more than welcome to try anything that we're doing. We'd love to coach you and inform you and educate you in all of the things. And if you've got questions about anything, like, hit us up on Instagram. We'd love to put it in a future episode and dive in on that. But we're just telling you how we're integrating this into our daily lives. All we're doing. So take that with a grain of salt. Take it like, oh, I would never do that, or why wouldn't you do this, or what? Like, we're just telling you what we're doing. So this podcast is descriptive, not prescriptive. So we want to make sure that you take this and apply what you want to. And if it doesn't apply to you, don't take it. Just leave it.
I love that you said that, Anna, because we all are so different. We all have like different DNA makeup. We all have different blood types. We all have different stuff going on in our bodies. We have, you know, we're all different ages and we're at different parts of our lives. And so like what works for me may not work for somebody else, and what works for somebody else may not work for me. But I think that really taking time to, and we talked about this in our last episode, like observe, notice what is going on in your life. Like, where can you sit down? Just like what Amy said. I love that you said, like, you've been really good about focusing on sleep, but you are noticing that you need to like maybe focus on your mornings. And I think I'm probably the same way. We just kind of like, for me, I think I take my mornings for granted. You know, I wake up and I do the things. I do the routine, get going. I'm rushing out the door and kissing my husband goodbye, and I'll see you when I get home, you know, and that's it. And so I think that for all of us, and as we begin to wrap up this podcast this week, just choosing one gentle beginning. Like, what does that look like for you? You know, maybe for you, it is you step outside for some natural light. I like to get up in the morning and I do go in the kitchen and I get myself some water. Sometimes I make my peptides first thing in the morning, but I open up all of my blinds. Like, I do not like to start my day without opening up the blinds. I love opening up the blinds. Now, when it gets dark at night, I like to close them because I don't want people to see through the house. But I love the light that comes through. If it was warmer, maybe I would go outside, Amy, and go to a place like you have and be able to really enjoy the air. I don't like the cold, so I will wait till the summertime or the spring to do that. But maybe for other people, it's like delaying your phone for 10 minutes. Maybe we don't just wake up and go straight to our phone. I am guilty of that. I go straight to my phone because my alarm's on my phone. And so I have to turn my alarm off, and then it's just easy to have it right there to scroll through or look at something or check my notifications or whatever that is. And then maybe for somebody else, it's like sit down with a warm drink and just a simple prayer and just like calm your body. And maybe it's making your cup of coffee and go into your Bible and reading some scripture, or even if you have it on your phone, like the Bible app. I love the Bible app. I used to be really into the Bible app. They have lots of great devotions in there, and I would go through all these devotions, especially when I was grieving my dad. There was a lot of great grief devotions in there. So maybe it's something like that, or like I said, I love my worship music. Maybe it's, you know, putting on some worship music. We're all different. We're all different phases of our lives. So let the goal this week be orientation, not discipline. Just take a notice of what you think that you need, and let's like Put it into motion this week and notice how your body responds, maybe not immediately, but over time.
If something in today's conversation stirred you, send it to the person who came to mind. That's how this message moves, person to person, and we can't do it without you. If you want to stay connected, go ahead and subscribe, like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. All the resources and goodies are linked in the show notes, and we'd love to continue the conversation with you over on Instagram. Until next time, stay prayerful, stay curious, and keep listening to the signals. The content shared on Prayer and Peptides podcast is for educational, informational, and inspirational purposes only. This podcast is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease, nor is it a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Discussions around peptides, nervous system regulation, stress, sleep, hydration, and wellness are presented as general educational concepts and reflections on the body's design, not as medical recommendations. Always seek the advice of your physician, a licensed healthcare provider, or qualified medical professional regarding any medical condition, symptoms, medication, supplements, or health discussions. Never disregard or delay seeking professional medical advice because of something you heard on this podcast. The host and guests of Prayer and Peptides are not acting as medical providers. Any personal experiences or stories shared are anecdotal and not intended to imply guaranteed outcomes. Spiritual reflections, prayer, and scripture-informed insights are offered as relational and supportive practices, not as replacements for medical or mental health care. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are responsible for your own health decisions and that Prayer and Peptides assumes no liability for actions taken based on the information presented.